They're off in the Breeders' Cup Sprint.
What's up, guys? Jared Welch, RacingDudes.com. We are 2 weeks out from the Breeders' Cup. That's right. The 40th annual Breeders' Cup is 2 weeks out. We are all hands on deck over here at RacingDudes.com. Today, I'm going to look at the $2 million Qatar Racing Breeders' Cup Sprint on Saturday. Now, remember, this is actually the final race on the Breeders' Cup Saturday, not the Classic. It's actually the Classic is the third to last race. So yeah, it's kind of a weird kind of the way they've set this up this year, but we'll see if people like it. But yeah, the Breeders' Cup Sprint will be the last race on Saturday, at least the last Breeders' Cup race on Saturday. So I'm gonna take a look at my top 5 Breeders' Cup Sprint contenders today. And again, the fields aren't out. We're still trying to figure out who's in, who's out, who's coming, what races are going to. Lots could change, but as it stands today, here are my top 5 contenders. And I'll just go ahead and say maybe my top 5, as far as best chances to win. And I'm going to start with number 5, and I'm going to go with the Japanese horse. And now this one is probably, could go either way as far as running in this race or not. Jasper Krone. That's right. It's not Krone. I've been saying it wrong for a long time, but Krone, insanely fast, son of Frosted. It's been running on turf and, really thought the turf sprint would be where they go, but there has been some talks of going to the Breeders' Cup Sprint. And if he shows up here, instantly becomes a legit contender, not only because of the speed, but, you got to respect, the Japanese connections, and we know how they've been doing and how they continue to do better at the Breeders' Cup. And so to me, if he's in and they go away from the turf where he's been very good as well, tells me they think this horse can run on dirt. And so he becomes an instant, at the very least, an instant pace, scenario pace horse that you're going to have to account for as we get closer. So number 5, Jasper Krone. Number 4, Dr. Schivel. It's hard to go against this guy, right? I mean, all he does is run in big races, especially out west, and run well. He just came off the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. Finished second in this race 2 years ago. It feels like forever, right? But he actually finished second to Aloha West that year. 2022 was a disaster. Ran once over Medan, and I believe it was Medan. Maybe it was Saudi. But the horse, he ran well. Yeah, it was Medan, and he ran well that day. Finished third in the Golden Shaheen, but then had issues. Took the rest of the year off. Came back. And really has turned into a nice horse this year. Ran an allowance, ran 5th in the Met Mile. That was a bold ask, right? The Bing Crosby finished 3rd, had some traffic issues, and then last time out, kind of put it all together in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. It's hard to kind of go against him. Has the home field advantage here out of Santa Anita, so I think Dr. Schivel deserves to be number 4 on this list. Number 3, Gunite. That's right. He's a hard-knocking horse, right? Out of all these, he's probably the one just gutty horse. Maybe not the best of, I think if you put these 5 together, he might be the least talented. And I don't mean that in any disrespect, because he's just a hard-knocking horse. Beat Elite Power last out in the Forgo. I mean, but he's also one of those horses that you just can't quite trust. He'll run a big race, he'll win the Forgo. Then he'll lose in the Parks Dirt Mile, for instance, next time out. And so you just can't quite trust him to run his big race every single time, but he does run well every single effort. So good night, number 3. And when you beat the defending champ, you got to be high on the list. So give me number 3, good night. All right, these top 2, and let me preface this before I give the top 2. I think these are the 2 easily, I think there's a gap between 2 and 3. Let's put it that way. I think 2 and 1 very closely together that could win this race. Number 2, Speedboat Beach, came off the 10-month layoff for Bob Baffert and ran really, really well. Game second, questionable ride, by the way, in that race in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. Got beat by Dr. Schivel, as I mentioned earlier, but 10-month layoff. A horse that kind of had ran well on dirt, switched to turf, and then they went back. Ran the juvenile turf sprint last year. It was awful. Just kind of a weirdly ran horse over the last year or so. But that race last time out showed me that this horse is legit. Like, he could be elite, right? We just haven't seen enough of him. So I think he's a legit contender automatically to upset the defending champion. And that will be number one on my list. I mean, it's hard to go against him, right? I get that he lost last time out. Defending champ, elite power, number one. Winner of 8 of his last 9. He was beaten last out, right, in the forego to Gunite, as I mentioned a second ago. And, you know, my good friend, business partner, racing dudes, Aaron Halterman, he's kind of gotten me to start thinking a little bit about elite power, and maybe, just maybe, he could. Is that a sign that he's tailing off just a tad? You know, you look at the Vanderbilt, he won, but man, it was tight, right? Tight. And then the forego, he got beat. And, you know, you just kind of wonder, is he the same horse that he was, say, Breeders' Cup last year? I still think he's going to be tough. The speed, the setup of this race is going to be perfect for him once again. But, you know, if he's a short price, I'm not going to hate you for trying to go against him and picking a horse like Speedboat Beach, Dr. Schivel, even the Japanese horse. So there's my top 5. I'll go through again here. Number 5, Jasper Krone. Number 4, Dr. Schivel. Number 3, Gunite. Number 2, Speedboat Beach. And number 1, Elite Power. All right, let me know in the comments below what you think of that list, what you think of this field that's shaping up for the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and how excited are you for this race? This is always a fun race every year, and especially this year with it being in a different order, right, after the Classic. And so kind of have this one to look forward to, the Speedboat Beach Elite Power. You know, ideally what you would see is, you know, Speedboat Beach out there, maybe even Jasper Krone if he's in. You know, those two going at it on the front end, and here comes Elite Power with his big run, and can he get there? And it's going to be a hell of a finish. So hopefully we see something like that in the Breeders' Cup. Leave the comments below. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, as we have a ton of Breeders' Cup content out there now and coming your way. Until next time, see you guys.
RacingDudes.com is your home for the best free picks for every race, every track. It's Breeders' Cup season, and we've got wall-to-wall coverage of the World Championships. Subscribe to YouTube.com/RacingDudes right now. Click the notification bell. You never want to miss a single video. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.